हाँ.
So our meet number 10, lecture 2. So what is this? Transportation and excretion. So let us begin our
Hmm.
lecture. Before I will start my lecture, I wanna ask you some question. So what actually means means what do you mean by transportation? In a simple way, I want answer.
किसी
In
एक
simple
चीज को
meaning, what
दूसरे
you
एक जगह
answer?
से
What?
दूसरी जगह ले आना.
Yeah, that's fine, and that is similar means in the context of this chapter also.
Hmm.
Because we have already means discussed that some process that in the nutrition we intake some food, and there is means simply be the process of ingestion take place, and food is broken down to different component, and later on there is formation of different what can we say, different material that will further help into gaining the energy and doing other work. Okay, so
Hmm.
first task is clear means the food is means food is basically what? Food is means getting breaking down, and basically the important constituent are we have taken, and the constituent which is means not useful for our body, that is basically excreted out, or simply it is means through our body. Okay, so
Hmm.
when the food is become when the food is processed, then processing of food is not means enough. समझ में आ रहा है? बस फूड का प्रोसेस हो गया, क्या काम हो गया? नहीं. Because in a
Hmm.
simple first let us take a simple example. Suppose there is a factory, okay, and there is some production of
Hmm.
something biscuit or other material, okay. Suppose they produce
Hmm.
some of the means ingredients, but is it
Hmm.
sufficient? Only production
Yeah.
of something is sufficient, or we have to transport it too to meet the consumer demand?
Hmm.
Okay, just reply. We have to
हाँ.
transport it also now. Huh?
हाँ. हाँ.
Uh, so same logic is also means behind the in our body. Now, if the food is broken down, and means various of the component or constituent are formed, such as glucose and other things, so that must be transported to the whole body, because the main purpose of taking food is indirectly to get energy to do our work, isn't it? Main
हाँ.
purpose of is what? To get energy from that food. So to getting energy from that food, that means particular means substance must be transported. So now the transportation take place. So definition is, yeah, as you have means replied earlier, that is fine. Transportation is nothing but just what? Transfer of one substance from one place to another place, either in the body
Hmm.
or anywhere. Okay. So this is simple definition
Hmm.
and means exact definition. Okay. So now question arises that how it means how transportation take place in human being. Second part we will also look at that how transportation is taking part uh, in the plant. We will means discuss later that in means xylem and phloem, two kind of tube that will help in transportation of that material, okay, in a
Hmm.
plant. Okay, but before that let us discuss means in respect to human. So transportation of human being, before moving that means I have already we discussed about the hemoglobin. So can you means
Hmm.
say something about the hemoglobin? What is actually?
नहीं.
Nahi, why nahi? What are you saying?
नहीं,
I
मन
have
नहीं है.
discussed now. Just say yeah.
हाँ.
Don't.
हाँ. हाँ, बताता हूँ. एक पिगमेंट है जो कि ऑक्सीजन कैरी करता है ब्लड में.
Yeah, means that helps in the transportation of simply oxygen. Okay, yeah, which assist
Hmm.
the oxygen to means to be transported. So here
Hmm.
I have collected a data because in the NCRT I have read there a question has been asked that what is the hemoglobin range of men and women. So here you have clearly visualize from this data that for men the hemoglobin range is 13.2 to 16.6 gram per deciliter, and for women
हाँ.
11.6 to 15 gram per deciliter. Also, for dog it has been 13.0 gram per liter per 100 ml. For horse, I think around 11 gram per ml. So why I am giving this data? This data means the purpose of giving this data is only that I want to make means some of the conclusion from that for men and women there is a means difference of hemoglobin range. Okay, for men
हम्म
hemoglobin range is larger, and for women hemoglobin range is lower. Okay, so
भैया
does it means do any
ये
question
अमन
arises in
कौन
your
है?
mind? Yeah, what?
हाँ, अमन कौन है?
Oh, I think he is
ये
Suman
अमन
भैया.
कौन है?
He is Suman.
ओ,
Is he join the class? Suman भैया.
Yes, भैया.
Yes. Okay, okay. So should I? Are you getting my point, or should I start from the earlier?
No,
I
I'm
have just
getting it.
yeah. Okay, okay. I have just started. So I was discussing that the range of hemoglobin for men and women is different, and also you can means clearly visualize that the range of hemoglobin for men is larger than for women. So one question arises. Which question arises? Can you ask me from? Can both of you ask from me? Do any
Why
question arises in
why
your mind?
why range of
Yeah,
women is greater than women?
yeah, that's fine. I asked you. So one of the important question arises that why there is a means difference or variation between men and women hemoglobin range. The main reason means there are actually variety of reason, but actually the main reason here is the means estrogen and estrogen. Have you means heard the name? I
यस,
think you heard. Yeah, these are the sexual hormone that we have already means covered in the class 9 in the reproduction chapter.
यस,
So the main, yeah, yeah. So that's main reason is that means estrogen and estrogen in women. Okay. So these are the means basically means just for the information. It is means not important in context of the your board exam. Okay, not much important. They will not going to ask the what is difference, but just for knowledge I give this knowledge. Okay, because I see means question from that from your ncrt book. Okay, so let us means forward our discussion. So now, what is blood? If anyone asks that what is blood, so blood is nothing but what it is, a fluid connective tissue. Blood is a fluid connective tissue, and basically it is a medium of transportation. Okay, as you know that in the plant, what is the medium of the transportation of means various of the nutrient? प्लांट में भाई कहाँ से ट्रांसपोर्ट होता है बहुत सारे न्यूट्रिएंट वगैरह, मीडियम क्या है उसका, बोलिए, जस्ट रिप्लाई.
फ्लोएम,
फ्लोएम, ना ना ना, दैट इज टिश्यू यार. सिंपल क्वेश्चन पूछते हुए ये, व्हाट इज द मीडियम ऑफ व्हाट इज द मीडियम ऑफ transportation, what can we say that this illogical question I'm going to ask from the daily life. So what is the medium of your study currently? What is
कोचिंग,
the medium of your study? Coaching or internet means through which you are getting that things. So similarly for what is the medium of transportation in the plant? Simply nothing but water, because through water means various the nutrient are passes. Okay. Also there are means other factor too, but main constituent is what? That is water. Similarly, blood is the main medium of the carrier of the various of the nutrients that are getting absorbed in our body. Okay. क्लियर है ना?
हाँ
समझ में आ रहा है कि ज्यादा कुछ अंग्रेज हम बन रहे हैं? आई कैन ऑल्सो स्पीक इन हिंदी. आ रहा है ना?
हाँ
हाँ,
भैया.
Okay. So now the similarly the plasma transport food CO2 and nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. How means the means what is the function of plasma? Simply, if someone asks, or this is important question related to board, what is the function of plasma? Plasma's function is nothing but to transport food, CO2, nitrogenous waste. That is in simply in dissolved form. Okay, because why I have written here in dissolved form, because when something or when some nutrients are in dissolved form, then it is easier to get transported. Okay, क्या अगर कोई चीज अगर सॉलिड है, ठीक है, उसको हम ट्रांसपोर्ट करें तो क्या फ्रिक्शन ज्यादा लगेगा, तो उसको ट्रांसपोर्ट करने में क्या एनर्जी भी ज्यादा लगेगा, और ऑल्सो देयर इज टाइम कंज्यूमिंग, इजंट इट? यार है ना? सो they are in dissolved form and it can be easily transported to whole part of the body. Clear?
हाँ.
Suman bhaiya, clear?
बोले थे ना नाइट्रोजन.
Hello.
हेलो.
हेलो. हाँ बोलिए.
नाइट्रोजिनस पेस्ट क्या होता है फिर अभी बोल.
नाइट्रोजनस वेस्ट मीन्स इसके पहले हम क्या यही मानसू भैया बताएंगे, बताइए तो. हाँ.
नहीं पता भैया मुझे भी.
I have always discussed something in the nutrition part that means there are also the various of the nitrogenous compound are formed. So the base that
अच्छा
is means
हाँ हाँ.
so the base that is arises from that means nitrogenous uh, you can say that nitrogenous compound that is simply called nitrogenous base. Okay, clear Suman bhaiya? Good question. Clear?
अच्छा
ए
मेरे
भैया
को हमारा
क्लियर.
हाँ बोलिए.
जो फीकल
बहुत
मटेरियल
fast.
होता है वो भी नाइट्रोजनस वेस्ट है.
Fecal material. Yes. Fecal
हाँ जो
what?
हम
I
मतलब हम
couldn't get.
जो करते हैं.
Oh, that. Yeah, yeah. I will explain in detail in the excretion part. That is also means not completely nitrogenous, but there is some part of nitrogenous compound too there. There is also means nitrogenous waste in the form of solid. Okay, and here the nitrogenous
हम्म.
waste is dissolved form. Okay, here you can say that there is nitrogenous waste in the dissolved form because we know that means from where these waste come from. These waste simply come from the food material that we intake. Okay, and from
हम्म.
and that waste may be in the dissolved form or in the solid form. So in the plasma, that is basically transported in the dissolved form, and in the what can we say in the during the excretion that will be discussed later. There is basically the nitrogenous waste and many of other type of waste also came in the solid form basically, solid and something dissolved too. I hope it is clear. Clear now.
हाँ.
So, and the next point is important then how the oxygen is carried. This is carried out through the RBC. Do you know the full form RBC?
हम्म.
What is?
रेड ब्लड कॉर्पसल्स.
Oh, okay. So oxygen is carried out by the red blood corpus. So now the next question arises that if we want to means if our body need transportation means or in simple life we can say that if anything need transportation there then there must be something that should be transported that must be means that help in transportation. For example, in the factories if something is formed or something produced then there must be some vehicle to transport that material to the consumer. Okay, in similar way in our body
हम्म.
too there is a system or basically say there is a pump that we known as heart. Okay, basically this is a pumping organ that push the blood around the body or uh, it simply push the blood to hold the body. Okay, in a systematic way. Okay, ऐसा नहीं कि
हम्म.
जिधर तिधर पुश कर देगा बिकॉज देयर इज सिस्टम फॉर्म इन आवर बॉडी. हमारे बॉडी में क्या एक सिस्टम फॉर्म हुआ है उसी के अकॉर्डिंग मैंने ब्लड जाता है. ठीक है, आगे पढ़ेंगे कि हाउ द देयर इज अ डिफरेंस ऑफ द चैम्बर, हाउ दे प्रिवेंट, हाउ मींस डिफरेंट डिफरेंट animal have different type of chamber, some have two chambered, one chamber or this blah blah thing. Okay, we will discuss, but they have a main point is that we need a pumping organ. And what is that pumping organ? Heart. What is that pumping organ?
हार्ट.
Heart. ठीक है. So let us move to the heart. So what is heart? That is simply a pumping organ, or you can say that heart is a muscular organ. That is means how means the structure is that if you means visualize it, then it will act like our fist. मुट्ठी. ठीक है, मुट्ठी की तरह आता है. As big ना is as big as our fist. जितना हमारा मुट्ठी मतलब ये एक तरह से होता है ना बिग, उतना ही as much as size रहता है. ठीक है, and it is simply a muscular organ. Also there is a means if we go through to the internal structure of heart then there are variety of the means there are various chamber available in the heart. And what is the purpose of that chamber? They may means in the examination they may ask that what is the purpose of that chamber. So the purpose of that different chamber is to prevent the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. यहाँ दो means term I, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, or simply here we can say that it prevents the mixing of oxygen-rich blood with the blood containing CO2. Or simply you can say that it prevents the mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. ठीक है, दो यहाँ डिफिनेशन आता है, व्हाट इज मीन्ड बाय ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड एंड व्हाट इज मीन्ड बाय डीऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड. ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड क्या हुआ? द ब्लड विच सिंपली कंटेन द ऑक्सीजन, दैट इज ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड, एंड दैट ब्लड which doesn't contain oxygen, simply that is deoxygenated blood. Clear?
हम्म। भैया एक
Function
डाउट
of
है।
same. Okay, you ask.
जैसे ब्लड में ऑक्सीजन कैसे आया मतलब?
ब्लड में ऑक्सीजन कैसे हुआ? I have already discussed the respiration process. Yeah. So
हाँ तो
what we
मतलब
do in
ठीक है, रेस्पिरेशन
what we do in respiration? Yeah, yeah. Ask,
सांस
ask.
लेते हैं।
सांस लेते means what actually there take place. There is
मतलब
a
थोड़ा
exchange of means oxygen na. We take
हम्म,
oxygen and simply exhale out the CO2. So when we take oxygen from there, oxygen means का सवाल क्लियर कि नहीं होगा?
नहीं मतलब थोड़ा डेप्थ में मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि ये कैसे मतलब ब्लड में कैसे मिल जाता है?
ब्लड में कैसे मिलता है? ओके, आई विल डिस्कस लेटर व्हेन वी डिस्कस मींस द पार्ट ऑफ द लंग. ओके, आगे आएगा, आपका सम्मान कर रहे, ठीक है? ऐसे
अच्छा,
अभी
और
के
ये
लिए समझिए
कार्बन
कि
डाइऑक्साइड कैसे,
हाँ,
और ये डीऑक्सीजनेटेड
कार्बन,
में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड?
ओके, CO2 कहा था, ठीक है, यही ना? सो
हम्म
so when the means when oxygen is functioning in our body, and there are variety of means chemical activities take place inside our body, and due to that chemical
हम्म।
activities, uh, a formation of CO2 take place. So the CO2 came in our blood or in our body simply. एक रिएक्शन कोई बताए थे आप लोग को? बताइए वो जिसमें कि CO2 इमिशन होता है. There is a means emission of CO2 take place. Complete silence.
ये तो होता है भैया।
किसमें किसमें होता है? कोई प्रोसेस था आई थिंक.
रेस्पिरेशन में
हाँ, रिस्पायरेशन में ही होता है. तो क्लियर हिमांशु भैया?
हाँ
Should I proceed later means forward?
हाँ,
Okay, so there is a different chamber, and what is the purpose of that chamber? Important question. What is the purpose of that chamber? Simply to prevent the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Simply याद रखना भाई, कहीं भी चैम्बर का क्या काम रहता है? बेसिकली चैम्बर मीन्स व्हाट? सिंपली a boundary. And what is the function of boundary? To prevent the mixing of it. What is the purpose of means border? To prevent the mixing of one people of one country to another country. That is simple. Okay ना?
पर क्यों?
क्यों?
अगर मिल
Means
गया तो क्या हो जाएगा? मतलब अगर
yeah,
दोनों
yeah, I will
ब्लड
just
अगर मिल जाएंगे तो?
because when means both of the oxygen and CO2 combine, then what there will be not means fresh O2 oxygen, and if that oxygen means that what is the purpose of that oxygen? That oxygen must be used for various of the different activities now, and if there is means not purity in that oxygen, then what we can say? Later we will discuss that our human body required more energy than the amphibian or other vertebrate. Okay, so if we required more energy, then indirectly we can say that we require more O2 oxygen. And if there is a mixing of oxygen, or simply say that if there is impurity in the oxygen, then what can we get the means sufficient amount of energy from that oxygen? What do you think?
नो।
समझ में आ रहा है भाई? यार ऑक्सीजन में
हाँ
मतलब प्यूरिटी नहीं रहेगा तो क्या हम लोग सफिशिएंट एनर्जी मिल पाएगा? हमको सफिशिएंट ऑक्सीजन ही नहीं मिलेगा तो एनर्जी तो मिलना दूर की बात. क्लियर?
हाँ।
So now both type of blood have to reach the heart so that they will reach the required destination. This is important point. Both have destination. Both either CO2 or oxygen, both have some destination, because CO2 will have to be removed out from the body, and oxygen must have to be reached or pump out to the whole part of the body so that there is transportation take place. So both function is carried out by the help of heart. That is simply called pumping organ. Clear? Clear? Should I move forward?
Hello.
हाँ बोलिए. Just ask your. Clear. सुमन भैया. Hello. Himanshu, Suman, reply या. No one replying.
Am I
मुझे
audible?
तो ठीक है लेकिन
Yeah, audible.
Am I audible?
Clearly out. Yeah, you are clearly audible. Ask
Now,
your doubt. Hmm?
what is role of RBC in our body?
Role of RBC. I have discussed now earlier.
In our body.
RBC function. I think I have discussed.
क्या जैसे
Simply, its function is nothing but to simply carry the oxygen. Okay. I've already stated the oxygen is carried out by the RBC. So this is the function
ऑक्सीजन है
of
इसका भी
RBC.
role है.
I couldn't hear you. यार. Suman bhaiya, I couldn't hear you clearly. There is too much lag. You can text me. Okay.
कि भैया मुझे एक डाउट आ रहा है.
Yeah, you simply Suman bhaiya, where? Can you show me your face?
कौन मैं?
Suman. You can simply text me. Okay. I will answer your question because I couldn't hear you clearly. Himanshu, ask your doubt.
हाँ, अगर कहते हैं आरबीसी भी ऑक्सीजन कैरी करता है तो फिर आरबीसी और हेमोग्लोबिन में फर्क क्या है?
What is the function of hemoglobin?
पिगमेंट है, ब्लड कैरी करता है, वो ऑक्सीजन कैरी करता है.
And yeah. And in hemoglobin there is means hemoglobin is a pigment, and inside the hemoglobin there is RBC, WBC, platelets. These all are present there also.
मतलब हेमोग्लोबिन के अंदर आरबीसी है और वाइट
Indirectly से नहीं
और
कहता, लेकिन
डब्ल्यूबीसी.
मिक्स रहता है. ठीक है.
हम्म.
वही हेमोग्लोबिन का क्या काम है? व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ हेमोग्लोबिन? जस्ट रिप्लाई. हिमांशु भैया.
ऑक्सीजन कैरी करना. ऑक्सीजन कैरी करना.
And what is the function of RBC?
उसका भी फंक्शन यही होता है.
क्या दिक्कत?
दिक्कत ये कि दोनों एक जैसे ही लग रहे हैं.
हाँ तो क्या दिक्कत है? आपको एक जैसा लग रहा है तो अलग कर
तो
देखा.
एक ही बंदे के दो नाम है.
ना.
तो हमारे ब्लड में
हेमोग्लोबिन
हेमोग्लोबिन मतलब कहाँ होता है?
हेमोग्लोबिन कहाँ रहता है? ब्लड, इन द ब्लड ना.
हाँ, लेकिन ब्लड में
हेमोग्लोबिन
ब्लड जब मतलब ब्लड के जब
वेट. हेमोग्लोबिन इज द पार्ट ऑफ आरबीसी. ठीक है. हेमोग्लोबिन इज फाउंड इन द आरबीसी. हेमोग्लोबिन इज
अच्छा
फाउंड इन द
मतलब आरबीसी
आरबीसी.
में.
हाँ,
हम्म.
आरबीसी में हेमोग्लोबिन पाया जाता है. ठीक है.
ठीक.
क्लियर.
पिगमेंट है ये.
हाँ. हेमोग्लोबिन एक पिगमेंट है जो दैट इज फाउंड इन द आरबीसी. आरबीसी में और बहुत सारा पिगमेंट पाया जाता है. वन ऑफ दैट पिगमेंट इज हेमोग्लोबिन. And both
अच्छा.
are, you can say that both are indirectly means same, because this is part of that. So you can say that. Suman bhaiya, what is the
वो
role of
लेफ्ट हो गया.
RBC? Left.
हाँ.
My screen is visible.
नो. हाँ. यस यस.
No. Yes means visible or not visible?
यस इट इज
It
विजिबल.
is. Okay. So no, so this is important part here. I missed it. Is it join, Nansu?
यस.
Suman bhaiya join.
यस.
Suman bhaiya, just reply. RBC function clear. Suman bhaiya, I don't know whether he can hear. If you can hear, just text me. Text me.
नहीं भैया अभी भी उसको क्लियर नहीं हुआ, मैसेज अभी भी किया है उसने फिर दोबारा।
Oh, so the role of RBC is nothing but to transport the oxygen. Okay. From what are you doing here? Okay, so let us move to the human heart. Okay, so these are the basically a diagram which is also important in context of your examination. This is the human heart. Okay, so what is actually you can clearly visualize this structure. That is my mouse visible all too. Mouse.
यस यस।
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. So actually you can see the structure. Basically means there are four part of that human heart: right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. These are basically main important parts, and these are the subsidiary part. That these are the pulmonary artery. Uh, this is pulmonary artery. This is pulmonary vein, and this is septum. What are the function? This is simply nothing but the dividing wall. Or I have said you earlier about the means restriction of boundary. So this is that the ball, and that help in separating the oxygen from means oxygenated and deoxygenated blood separation. Okay, and this is vena cava from lower part of the body. This is means name is nothing but just only you can say that there is a specific name for that part and nothing. Also there are means variety of uses of that means particular part, but that is not means in our syllabus. Okay, so we just have to know the structure and the name, that's it, and some of the means important part about the atrium and veins. Clear? So what happened? The oxygenated blood, that is means you know nothing. When we means inhale the oxygen, that is simply uh, what can you say that that is simply arrived in our lungs, we know that in lungs have different means what can you say, lungs have na.
हम्म।
I've discussed now about the lungs that there is a surface present where the exchange of gases to take place. I think alveoli and something
हाँ
that alveolar suck
हाँ
and
एल्वियोलार।
different things I have already discussed. Okay, so from the lungs
हाँ
means that we means the oxygen that we inhale, that is come into the lungs, and finally from the lungs it is simply moved toward the thin wall chamber of the heart, that is left atrium. Here there is left atrium. So from the
अब
lungs or from with the help of pulmonary vein, that is simply oxygenated blood came to the left atrium. Okay, and left atrium, from the left atrium it is simply moved to the left ventricle. These are simply the part or chamber of the heart, and from the left ventricle again it will move to the aorta, and from the aorta now means what is that? This is simply the oxygenated blood that is came from the lungs, isn't it? This is oxygenated blood that comes from the lungs, and that will simply move in that way, and finally from the aorta to different part of the body. Okay, so this is the function of
ओटा
oxygenated
ओटा।
blood. Yeah, aorta is simply nothing but a simply opening through which the passage of oxygenated blood takes place. You can take. Okay, और ज़्यादा डिटेल में जानने की जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है? ऐसे अगर इफ वी मीन्स डिस्कस द ह्यूमन हार्ट, देन फॉर द ह्यूमन हार्ट देयर इज अ बुक, एक बुक बन जाता है ह्यूमन हार्ट पे, ठीक है? तो उतना हमको मतलब क्या बायोलॉजिस्ट नहीं बनना है, जस्ट वी हैव टू नो द बेसिक कंसेप्ट अबाउट द ह्यूमन हार्ट। क्लियर?
हाँ
क्लियर भाई? अगर
हाँ
आपको ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट है तो देन यू विल टेक मेडिकल एज अ बायो इन द 12th, एंड just means what can say, you can exaggerate that matter, what the function of aorta, and inside aorta there are also many of the vein, that blah blah different things. So we don't need, just we have to know the basic concept of the human heart. Okay, so now let us move about the deoxygenated blood. So what are the means, what is actually deoxygenated blood? I have already discussed that there is basically you can say that impure blood. Okay, so the impure blood or simply impure blood came from where? From the different part of the body, and from the okay, so from the different part of the body, impure blood came through here vena cava from upper body. Okay, or means from the body it came to the right atrium, very right atrium. Here it is right atrium means from the vena cava from the upper body, and the vena cava from the lower body means from the lower part of the body. कहाँ से आता है ये? दिस इज द वेना cava, simply a tube from where means deoxygenated blood from the lower part of body came from here, and oh yeah, and the deoxygenated blood from upper part of the body came here. दो चैम्बर है, यहाँ से लोअर पार्ट से आता है deoxygenated blood, यहाँ अपर पार्ट से. Finally they will move to the right ventricle. Okay, and from the right ventricle it is simply pull out of the body. Okay, clear? Have you understand the diagram? Did you get it? Should I repeat it again?
Yeah, repeat it again.
From starting, oxygenated, from
हाँ
oxygenated blood. Okay, okay. You just means I have means
हाँ
what can you say that means means summarize this means whole human heart diagram. Okay. So what is the function
Yeah,
of oxygenated blood? Simply oxygenated blood means simply oxygen rich blood or O2 rich blood. So from where the oxygenated blood came? It is simply came from our lungs, because we know that we inhale
lungs.
uh, yeah, we inhale oxygen, and in the inside the lungs there is exchange of gases and there is activity take place, that we have already discussed in the respiration part. Okay, so the oxygenated blood came into the lungs, and from the lungs it will move to the uh, left atrium, which is the thin ball upper chamber of heart. This is a thin ball upper chamber of heart, that is the left atrium. And from the pulmonary vein it will come to the left atrium, and from the left atrium it will further move to the left ventricle. Okay, clear now? And from the left ventricle it will again means since it is a oxygen rich blood, or simply it is oxygenated blood, so it must be moved to the different part of the body, because the function of that oxygen is to means, what is the function of that oxygenated blood? To basically to provide energy. Okay, so this will move to the rest part of the body, and we know that
भैया
there are well, हाँ बोलिए.
सुमन बोल रहा है हिंदी में बोलने को.
हिंदी में बोले, ठीक है, बढ़िया. तो क्या होता है यहाँ पर? सुमन भैया है? हेलो सुमन भैया, आर यू प्रेजेंट? जस्ट टेक्स्ट मी. या यस. ओके, आई एम टेलिंग इन हिंदी. हिंदी में फिर से बोलते हैं, ठीक है? सॉरी फॉर मीन्स योर इनकन्वीनियंस. जहाँ समझ में ना बोलिएगा, हिंदी बताएंगे, ठीक है? जस्ट कंफर्म मी माई स्क्रीन इज विजिबल ना. सो यहाँ से फिर क्या
हाँ
होता है भैया? ये ह्यूमन हार्ट है, जिसका क्या काम है? बेसिकली दिस इज क्या है? यह एक पंपिंग ऑर्गन है. ठीक है, पंपिंग ऑर्गन है जो कि ब्लड को ट्रांसफर मतलब वगैरह करता, पंप करता है. सो ये ह्यूमन हार्ट का मतलब स्ट्रक्चर है, जो कि क्या है आपके एग्जामिनेशन में से भी ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट है. सो व्हाट इज एक्चुअली देयर? यहाँ पर क्या होता है? ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड. ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड क्या है? ऑक्सीजन रिच ब्लड. ये ऑक्सीजन रिच ब्लड कहाँ आता है? सिंपली फ्रॉम द लंग्स. मीन्स सिंपली मीन्स ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड, और मीन्स ऑक्सीजन कहाँ रहता है? बेसिकली इन द लंग्स. लंग्स में क्या होता है? देयर इज एक्सचेंज ऑफ गैसेस टेक प्लेस, जो कि हम रिस्पिरेशन में ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. सो फ्रॉम द लंग्स ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड कहाँ आता है? पल्मोनरी वेन में, मतलब थ्रू द पल्मोनरी वेन. अरे यार, पल्मोनरी वेन से कहाँ था? लेफ्ट ऑट्रियम में. सो दीज आर बेसिकली द फोर चेम्बर ऑफ द हार्ट. राइट ऑट्रियम, राइट वेंट्रिकल, लेफ्ट ऑट्रियम, लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल. दीज आर फर्दर सब्सिडरी पार्ट ऑफ दैट चैम्बर. ओके, सो ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड लंग्स से आया, कहाँ आया? लेफ्ट ऑट्रियम में. लेफ्ट ऑट्रियम से कहाँ आया? लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल में. एंड लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल से, सिंस इट इज ऑक्सीजनेटेड रिच ब्लड, क्योंकि ऑक्सीजनेटेड ऑक्सीजन रिच ब्लड है, तो क्या है? हर एक पार्ट ऑफ द बॉडी में ट्रांसफर होना है. तो ये फ्रॉम द ऑर्टा डिफरेंट पार्ट ऑफ द बॉडी में ट्रांसफर हो जाएगा. क्लियर सुमन भैया? क्लियर? क्या बोले भाई? हिमांशु, 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 वेयर इज यार हिमांशु हिमांशु
हाँ,
व्हाट डू रिप्लाई जस्ट क्लियर
अब आवाज आया। अभी इससे पहले आवाज नहीं आ रहा था।
मेरा आवाज नहीं आ रहा अब आ रहा
लेकिन हाँ, अब आ रहा है।
उनका क्लियर हुआ समझ में आएगा फिर से बोलना समझ में आया हिंदी में रिप्लाई यार शुड आई प्रोसीड
हाँ, मेरा आवाज
हाँ
नहीं जा पाता इसलिए हम चैट बोल देते हैं।
तो ठीक है तो वही तो मैं पूछ रहा चैट उसका देखो समझ में आ गया ना
हाँ, अभी आवाज
हाँ
जा रहा है
ठीक है
भैया?
हाँ अभी तो आ रहा क्लियरली अब हिमांशु का नहीं आ रहा ठीक है तो अब इसके बाद क्या हुआ भाई ऑक्सीडेटिव ब्लड का अपना काम हो गया इसका जो है हमारे बॉडी में हो गया मतलब कि ट्रांसफर हो गया ठीक है नाउ डीऑक्सीनेटेड ब्लड सिमिलरली डीऑक्सीनेटेड ब्लड कहाँ से आ गया डीऑक्सीनेटेड ब्लड फ्रॉम
बॉडी
द
से।
फ्रॉम फ्रॉम आवर बॉडी से ठीक है हमारे शरीर से क्या
हम्म।
डीऑक्सीनेटेड ब्लड आया और जो डीऑक्सीनेटेड ब्लड कहाँ दो पार्ट में आता है मतलब लोअर पार्ट में कहाँ आता है वेना कावा फ्रॉम लोअर बॉडी एंड द वेना कावा फ्रॉम अवर अपर बॉडी मींस अपर पार्ट से जो डीऑक्सीनेटेड ब्लड होता है इधर आता है और लोअर पार्ट ऑफ बॉडी से इधर आता है एंड सिंपली इट विल मूव टू द राइट atrium from the right atrium it will move to the right ventricle the right ventricle से simply it will move out of our body to different process okay I have also means रफ डायग्राम यहाँ दे दिया
भैया,
डीऑक्सीनेटेड ब्लड फ्रॉम राइट एट्रियम टू राइट वेंट्रिकल हाँ बोलिए
पुलमोनरी पुलमोनरी का मतलब क्या होता है?
मतलब क्या जानना है आपको सिंपली अ टाइप ऑफ वेन है मतलब आपको
अच्छा, तो
दिक्कत
फिर
है
ये
बता
आर्टरीज
दीजिए
और वीन में डिफरेंस क्या है?
या दैट्स अ इम्पोर्टेंट क्वेश्चन आई विल डिस्कस बता रहे उसको आपको बोले क्या पूछे पल्मोनरी
हाँ।
पल्मोनरी नथिंग बट इट इज सेइंग दैट लंग्स रिलेटेड ओके और कुछ नहीं जो बोल रहा
हम्म।
फेफड़ा संबंधी जो इसी कहते हैं अप टू दिस क्लियर ना क्लियर नो वन रिप्लाई
यस भैया क्लियर।
okay so now the next point is that the atrium have to pump the blood to various organs so they have thicker wall this is one of the major key difference between the atrium and the ventricle or simply atrium and the ventricle since atrium और ये इसको क्या काम आता है atrium का लेफ्ट atrium से पहले बताएं कि ये पंप करता है ब्लड टू वेरियस फ्रॉम ब्लड टू वेरियस ऑर्गन क्या है मतलब कि यहाँ पर तो पल्मोनरी वेन से ब्लड आराम से आ गया लेकिन अब इसको पंप करना है वो वेरियस ऑर्गन में ठीक है वेरियस ऑर्गन में सो पंप करना तो सो दे मस्ट नीड अ मींस व्हाट कैन वी से थिक बाल अगर थिक बाल रहेगा तो क्या होगा रिपर्चर हो जाएगा देयर इज लीकेज मींस समथिंग लीकेज हो जाएगा इसलिए क्या होता है देयर इज अ की डिफरेंस बिटवीन द atrium and the ventricle that atrium have thin wall and ventricle have thick wall what the purpose behind that because the um, atrium have to pump blood to various organs okay clear clear भाई okay let us move forward if you don't reply then I will move forward हम्म
हेलो।
हाँ क्लियर
हाँ, वैसे बोलिए आप जरा फिर से नहीं आया।
आर्टरी सिंपली डिफरेंस समझो कि आर्टरी कैरी ब्लड अवे फ्रॉम द हार्ट एंड वेन्स कैरी ब्लड टुवर्ड द हार्ट आर्टरी का क्या काम है
अच्छा।
आर्टरी और वेन में आर्टरी का क्या काम है इट कैरी ब्लड ब्लड अवे फ्रॉम हार्ट हार्ट से दूर इसको ले आता है और वेन्स का क्या काम है यहाँ नहीं दिख रहा ये पल्मोनरी वेन है ये इसका क्या काम है इट टुवर्ड द हार्ट ये ला रहा है और आर्टरियम का क्या काम है अवे फ्रॉम द हार्ट इसको भेज रहा है ठीक है दीज आर बेसिकली की डिफरेंस और एक और डिफरेंस एक और इम्पोर्टेंट बात पार्ट बताएं कि आउट्रियम का क्या होता है, इसको ब्लड को पंप करना रहता है, इसलिए क्या रहता है, ये थिकर रहता है। थिकर नहीं रहेगा तो क्या होगा, आराम से रिपर्चर हो जाएगा, सो देर भी लीकेज। ठीक है, क्लियर।
So hey guys, I hope that you enjoy this video. Thank you for viewing my video. Please subscribe my channel for such amazing video. Thank you.